Money had never been an issue in our marriage until my mother-in-law, Barbara, decided to make it one. I've been with James for 6 years, married for 3, and I built my own successful business from the ground up. But to Barbara, I'd always be the girl from the wrong side of the tracks who somehow tricked her precious son into marriage. Looking back, I should have known something was wrong when Barbara insisted on hosting a formal family dinner on a random Wednesday evening. In the 3 years I'd been officially part of the family, Barbara Hamilton had never voluntarily included me in anything, much less organized an event specifically requesting my presence. "Maybe she's finally coming around," James said as we pulled up to their sprawling estate in his Tesla. I gave him a look that made him chuckle. "Okay, maybe not, but Dad said it's important we both be there." I smoothed down my designer blazer, one I bought with my own money from my consulting firm's profits, and tried to ignore the knot in my stomach. The Hamilton family estate always made me feel small, with its perfectly manicured lawns and imposing colonial architecture. It screamed old money, everything Barbara had accused me of pursuing. James's sister Amanda was already there with her investment banker husband, and his younger brother Michael had brought his new girlfriend, another society-approved choice who came from the right family. Barbara had greeted her with open arms at their first meeting, something I was still waiting for after 6 years. "James, darling." Barbara air-kissed her son's cheeks, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. She barely glanced at me. "Oh, you came too, Jennifer." "It's Jessica," I corrected for the 100th time, knowing she got my name wrong on purpose. James squeezed my hand, a silent apology for his mother's behavior. The dining room table was set with the family's finest china. The set Barbara never failed to mention would go to Amanda since some people wouldn't appreciate its history. James's father, Robert, sat at the head of the table, unusually quiet and looking uncomfortable. Something was definitely off. We were halfway through the main course when Barbara clinked her crystal glass. "I have an announcement to make." Her perfect society smile didn't reach her eyes. "As you know, Grandmother Hamilton's health has been declining." My hand froze halfway to my water glass. I've been helping James's grandmother, Margaret, with her finances for the past year, something Barbara didn't know about. Margaret had specifically asked for my help, trusting my business acumen more than her own daughter's. Mother has become, Barbara paused delicately, confused about her finances. She's been making some concerning decisions lately, and as her daughter, I feel it's my duty to take control of her estate before any opportunistic individuals can take advantage. Her eyes landed pointedly on me. "What do you mean, Mom?" James asked, but I could see in his father's face that this had been discussed before. Barbara's smile turned predatory. "Well, darling, we've discovered some unusual transactions in Mother's accounts. Large sums of money being moved around. And given that certain people," another pointed look at me, "have been spending an awful lot of time with her lately." My blood ran cold. So that's what this dinner was about. "Barbara," I started, but she spoke over me. "I've already spoken to the family lawyer. We're freezing Mother's accounts and launching an investigation. We simply can't have gold diggers worming their way into our family and stealing our legacy." The table fell silent. Amanda looked down at her plate while her husband suddenly became very interested in his wine glass. Michael's girlfriend watched the drama unfold with poorly concealed fascination. "Mom." James stood up, his napkin falling to the floor. "You can't accuse Jessica off." "Oh, but I can," Barbara cut him off. "I have proof." "Robert, show them." James's father reluctantly pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were bank statements showing transfers from Margaret's account, transfers I knew all about because I'd helped Margaret make them. $50,000 moved in the last year alone, Barbara announced triumphantly. And coincidentally, right around the times our little social climber here visited Mother. I felt James stiffen beside me. I could see doubt flicker across his face for just a moment, and that hurt more than all of Barbara's accusations. But then I remembered the other folder in my purse, the one Margaret had given me just in case. The one that would not only clear my name but reveal exactly who had been stealing from the family matriarch. I reached for my purse, my hand steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "You know, Barbara, it's interesting you brought up the missing money." "Oh," she arched a perfectly groomed eyebrow. "Ready to confess?" Actually, I pulled out my own folder, thick with documents. "I think it's time we talked about the real missing money." The $50,000 that disappeared from your mother's account long before I came into the picture. The money that, according to these bank records, went straight into your personal offshore account. The color drained from Barbara's face. You see, I continued, my voice gaining strength. Margaret asked me to help her track down some inconsistencies in her finances last year. Being a certified forensic accountant, something you'd know if you'd ever bothered to ask about my career, I was happy to help. And what I found was fascinating. I opened the folder and began laying out documents one by one. Would you like me to tell everyone about the systematic theft that's been happening for the past 5 years? Or should we start with the forged signatures on these withdrawal slips? Barbara's crystal glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the expensive parquet floor. But I wasn't done. Not even close. The truth about the Hamilton family's legacy was about to come out, and I have front row seats to watch it all unfold. The silence in the dining room was deafening. Shards of Barbara's crystal glass glittered on the floor, much like her perfectly crafted facade was about to shatter. These are lies, Barbara finally sputtered, but her shaking hands betrayed her. Robert, tell them these are lies. James's father wouldn't meet his wife's eyes. He knew. Of course he knew. Let's look at Exhibit A, shall we? I pulled out a document with highlighted sections. Monthly transfers of $2,000 from Margaret's personal account to a shell company called Hamilton Heritage Holdings, a company registered in your maiden name, Barbara, started exactly 1 month after you gained partial access to your mother's accounts. Amanda gasped. Her husband, the investment banker, leaned forward with sudden professional interest. You told grandmother those were charitable donations. I continued, my voice steady. For a historical preservation society. But the money went straight to your private account in the Cayman Islands. I have the wire transfers right here. I demand to know how you got this information. Barbara's voice rose to a shrill pitch. Your mother gave me permission to investigate when she noticed her charity receipts didn't match her bank statements. She may be elderly, Barbara, but she's far from confused. James was staring at the documents, his lawyer's mind probably cataloging every legal violation. Mom, is this true? Of course not. She's trying to turn you against me, darling. This gold-digging little. Don't. James's voice was like steel. Don't you dare finish that sentence. I pulled out my phone and pressed play on a recorded conversation. The money is gone, Barbara. Margaret's clear voice filled the room. Did you think I wouldn't notice? My own daughter. Mother, you're confused. You agreed to those donations. Stop lying. Jessica showed me everything. The fake company, the transfers. How could you steal from me? Barbara lunged for my phone, but James caught her arm. There's more, I said quietly. So much more. I can explain. Barbara's perfect makeup couldn't hide her panic now. The family was at risk. That summer house in Martha's Vineyard was about to be foreclosed. The house you told everyone was paid off. Robert finally spoke, his voice tired. The one you insisted we keep hosting charity events at to maintain our social standing. We are Hamiltons. Barbara slammed her hand on the table. We have a reputation to maintain. And then she comes along, she jabbed a finger at me. With her middle-class background and her self-made business, threatening everything I've built. Everything you've stolen, you mean? Amanda whispered, looking horrified. I almost felt sorry for Barbara. Almost. Would you like to tell them about the other money? The college funds you invested for your grandchildren. Michael's girlfriend quietly gathered her purse and slipped out. Smart girl. This wasn't going to get prettier. The college funds? Amanda's voice cracked. My children's college funds. I nodded grimly. Gone. Along with the family's holiday property maintenance fund and the charitable trust your grandfather set up. Mother? James's voice was barely a whisper. Barbara's facade finally crumbled completely. You don't understand. The market crash in 2008 hit us harder than anyone knew. Your father's investments were worthless. We were going to lose everything. So you stole from your own mother? Your grandchildren? James stood up, towering over his mother. How long did you think you could hide this? If she hadn't interfered, Barbara spat in my direction. No one would have ever known. We could have maintained our position in society, kept our respect. Respect built on theft and lies. I interrupted. Margaret knows everything, Barbara. She's already spoken to her lawyers. This dinner tonight, it wasn't your idea. It was hers. She wanted everyone to know the truth together. The sound of a car crunching on gravel outside made Barbara's face go ghostly white. Through the dining room window, we could see Margaret's private nurse helping her from a town car. "She's here," I said softly, "and she has something she'd like to say to everyone." Barbara collapsed back into her chair, decades of secrets and lies finally catching up to her. The perfect Hamilton family image was about to change forever, and there wasn't a single crystal glass or designer handbag that could fix it. As Margaret's wheelchair was guided up the front ramp, the one I'd insisted be installed despite Barbara's protests about ruining the facade, I gathered my documents back into their folder. The real confrontation was about to begin, and I had a front row seat to watch justice finally being served. James reached for my hand under the table, squeezing it tightly. In that squeeze was an apology, understanding, and gratitude all at once. His mother had spent years trying to prove I was a gold digger, never realizing that in doing so, she'd exposed herself as the real thief in the family. The doorbell rang, and Barbara's perfectly manicured nails dug into the imported tablecloth. Sometimes karma arrives in the form of bank statements and wire transfers, and sometimes it arrives in the form of a determined grandmother in a wheelchair, ready to reclaim everything that was stolen from her. The sound of Margaret Hamilton's wheelchair echoing through the hallway seemed to grow louder with each passing second. Barbara's perfectly curated dinner party had transformed into her worst nightmare. Margaret Hamilton entered the dining room like a queen, her silver hair elegantly styled and her posture impeccable despite her physical limitations. At 82, she still commanded every room she entered. Her eyes, sharp as ever, swept across the table before landing on her daughter. "Barbara," Margaret's voice was calm but cold. "I see Jessica has shared my findings with the family." "Mother, please." Barbara started to rise, but Margaret held up one hand, silencing her instantly. "Sit down." Two simple words that made Barbara collapse back into her chair like a scolded child. "For 30 years, I trusted you with our family's legacy. I believed you when you said the market was unstable, when you insisted we needed to protect our assets. I even believed you when you said Jessica was a threat to our family's wealth." Margaret wheeled herself to the head of the table, smoothly taking the position of power. Imagine my surprise when this supposed gold digger came to me with concerns about my accounts. Not about her inheritance, not about her position in the family, but about my well-being. She was snooping. Barbara tried to interject. She was protecting me. Margaret's voice cracked like a whip. "While you were draining my accounts to maintain your country club membership and your spa weekends, Jessica was the one who noticed something was wrong. She spent months documenting everything, working late into the night after running her own successful business all day." James's hand found mine again under the table. I could feel him trembling slightly. "The total amount," Margaret continued, pulling out her own folder, "is just over $300,000 over the past 5 years. Money stolen not just from me, but from your own children's futures." Amanda let out a choked sob. Her husband wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "But here's what truly breaks my heart, Barbara." Margaret's voice softened dangerously. "You didn't just steal money. You stole time. Time I could have spent getting to know my grandson's wonderful wife, if you hadn't been so busy painting her as a criminal. Time this family could have spent building real relationships instead of maintaining false appearances." Barbara's mascara left black trails down her cheeks now. "I was protecting our name by becoming exactly what you accused Jessica of being." Margaret cut her off. "A thief? A manipulator? The only difference is Jessica earned her success. You stole yours." The silence that followed was heavy with decades of deception. "So," Margaret straightened in her wheelchair, "every inch the family matriarch, here's what's going to happen. The police have already been notified. All the documentation has been submitted to the proper authorities. Barbara, you have a choice to make right now." Barbara's head snapped up. "You can either agree to pay back every penny you stole, accept whatever legal consequences come your way, and begin the long process of earning back this family's trust." Margaret paused, letting the words sink in. "Or you can leave this house right now with nothing but the clothes on your back. Either way, as of this moment, you no longer have access to any family accounts or properties." "You can't do this to me," Barbara whispered. "I'm your daughter." "Yes, I can, and I am, because I'm not just protecting my money anymore. I'm protecting this family's soul." Robert finally spoke up. I've already spoken to our lawyer. I'll be filing for divorce in the morning. Barbara's world was collapsing in real time. Her perfectly orchestrated life of luxury and lies was crumbling around her designer outfit. She looked around the table, seeking any ally, finding none. I need time to think. You have 30 seconds, Margaret stated flatly. Choose. In the end, Barbara chose the only thing she truly cared about, herself. She grabbed her purse and fled the dining room, the front door slamming behind her moments later. Margaret turned to me, her eyes warm for the first time that evening. Jessica, dear, would you mind helping me review the account recovery procedures tomorrow? I find I trust your financial expertise more than any of our previous advisors. Of course, I managed to say through the emotion tightening my throat. And James? Margaret addressed her grandson. You married far better than we deserved. I hope you know that. James nodded, still processing everything that had happened. I do, grandmother. I really do. Later that night, as James and I lay in bed trying to make sense of the evening, his phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Barbara just posted on Instagram about taking a healing journey to find herself. From first class on a flight to Switzerland. James showed me the phone screen and we both burst out laughing, the kind of laughter that comes after intense stress, slightly hysterical but cleansing. You know what's funny? I said, wiping tears from my eyes. She spent years trying to prove I was after the family money, and in the end, she's the one running away with whatever cash she had left. James pulled me close. I'm so sorry I ever doubted you, even for a second. You didn't doubt me, I corrected him. You doubted the situation. There's a difference. As we drifted off to sleep, I thought about Margaret's words about protecting the family's soul. Sometimes the biggest threat to a family isn't an outsider looking in. It's the insider desperately trying to keep others out. And sometimes the best revenge isn't serving cold evidence at a dinner party. It's living well, building genuine relationships, and letting the truth do its own work. The next morning, I had 3 missed calls from Barbara's number. I deleted them without listening to the messages. Some chapters are better left closed.